During a stage of basketball in the 1990s, when the most flashy play in the sport was a dunk, Michael Jordan was dominating the NBA, winning 5 MVPs and 6 titles from 1991 to 1998. But in 1996, with the first pick in the NBA draft, came a kid named Allen Iverson. On the court, he dazzled everybody with his finishing, shooting, and a dribble move he called the crossover. Despite being a shorter player, almost every other player in the league was taller than him. At just 6'0" and 165 pounds, he averaged north of 25 points a game for a large portion of his playing career. His crossover move was very clean and never carried or traveled with the ball. It was a driveway basketball move Iverson had created and would be a big part of street ball in the years to come. As more years passed, more and more players began to replicate AI's moves. Stephen Curry, Kyrie Irving, and others were young guards who replicated the crossover in an incredible fashion. Other guys like Jamal Crawford dubbed themselves their own dribble moves, like his shake and bake, for instance, or Chris Paul's Sham God crossover as another example. Unfortunately, these players toyed with the game's rulebook, making fans wonder if they were traveling or even carrying the ball. They ended up being correct. When NBA All-Star guard James Harden came on the scene, he became obsessed with dribbling moves, step backs, and alley-oops to his big men, like Dwight Howard and Clint Capella. But it got to the point where when he did a step back from 3, he would take 3 or 4 steps just to get his shot off. Last time I checked, it's illegal to take 3 or more steps with the ball in hand, according to NBA rules. This gave guards and perimeter players an advantage over the big men in the scoring department, when in the 1990s and earlier eras, big men used to dominate the NBA over guards. And for a few years, Stephen Curry just eliminated the center position completely. But Steph Curry changed the game in every way imaginable, so there really isn't any surprises there. But nowadays in the NBA, there are players like LaMelo Ball and Jordan Poole and Luka Doncic who have just become scoring icons. But the way that they score is just not the right way. Because if you ask any old head, they will tell you that they travel every single time they get the ball or carry the ball. And I think carrying the ball, they do a lot more. But if we're being honest, they do bend the rulebook a lot. So that brings me to the topic of today's video. Today we will be talking about how NBA players bend the rulebook and if they are really traveling or not on some plays or another. We'll look at different NBA players, their games, and what happens when the referees don't catch the call. Let's first examine Luka Doncic, one of the best young guards in the NBA today, an NBA MVP candidate for the 2022-23 season, and the best player in Dallas Mavericks history besides Dirk Nowitzki. Out of the 3 players I will be examining today, Luka has the cleanest game out of probably all of them. I mean, he's a great ball handler and all, but he does carry the ball a lot. And I mean, when you see him do one of his dribble moves into a step back, it is questionable. I mean, if he's doing it between the legs dribble, he sometimes has the ball in his right hand and then lets it float a little bit in his hand before he puts it back down and lets it rip from downtown. And I mean, I do get it, but yeah, there's a fine line between carrying the ball and just bending the rulebook so much that it's just obvious. And it's crazy because sometimes the refs don't even call it. But some of the players I'm about to look at do even more questionable things than what I told you about Luka Doncic. When we look at a player like Jordan Poole, when he does all those between the legs dribbles, and especially this move he does where he does this little behind the back, or sometimes he'll do a spin move that will get him to the hoop. But when you see him do it, he carries the ball in his backhand and then sort of just lets it float before he gets that shot up, which is usually like an inside shot, like a floater or maybe a 10-foot jumper, but a very short jump shot. But a lot of times it's a layup too. But Poole really is shifty, but
Are we just going to ignore the fact that when he does a crossover, like the ball, he just picks it up and then like in his left hand, and then he just brings it over the top of his hand, which is obviously a carry. I mean, you can't do that according to the NBA rulebook, and the refs will not call it. The reason why is because the game has become literally so for fans' entertainment, and is not like in the 1990s when there wasn't, like, it wasn't because of the fans' entertainment, it was to make the game fair. But now they're trying to have the fans be entertained by all these crazy crossovers and stuff, when really it should be a turnover. And I think we see that a lot with Jordan Poole. Okay, so there's this one clip of Ja Morant against the Golden State Warriors. He just carries the ball. He has the ball in his left hand, has it right at the shooting pocket where a quarterback would if he's throwing the ball, puts it back down, and then goes up for his layup. Absolutely crazy. I cannot believe Ja Morant. He's such a fun player to watch, but how he is such a fun player to watch is because he breaks the rules. If you look at him, it's almost every single time it's a carry, or sometimes if he has the ball in transition, it's going to be a travel because he'll take 3 or 4 steps, but the refs won't call it because then the fans will be super mad and will say, refs, you suck and stuff, because they are under so much pressure. So that is just, I think Ja Morant is probably the most egregious out of all the young generation players, but there are other players that are pretty egregious too. Like if you look at a player like LaMelo Ball, he's going to travel a lot. He takes 4, even 5 steps. There's this one clip of him doing a between the legs alley-oop, but in the All-Star game. But before he does it, he takes 5 steps to throw the alley-oop to DeJounte Murray for a dunk. But it is the All-Star game, so they're not going to call everything. But I just thought that one was so egregious they should have called it because it was probably 5 steps. But that will wrap up today's video. So if you did enjoy, please like the video. Shout out to all you guys who made it to the end. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Click subscribe, turn notifications on, like, share, comment, all the good stuff. And as always, it's your boy Hyper Hooper Basketball, and bro.